All right, so we want to come to the studio, and I want to introduce my guests here. Opiyo Wandayi, who's the Gunja Member of Parliament. He's here with me in studio. But we also have Njogu Barua, who's a former Gishugu Member of Parliament, joining us from our city centre studio. He can hear us quite clearly. All right, I'd like to start with you, Njogu, because you're far from me. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on maybe just a comment, a brief one, over this leadership wrangles that we're seeing with NASA.
Thank you, Betty, and thank you and good morning to you both, and Opiyo Wandayi, my friend. I want to talk about the leadership wrangles you are saying from NASA. I don't think these are major issues because party leadership in the House is a negotiated process. What is happening is that NASA has got several affiliates, that's Wiper, ODM, and Ford Kenya, among others, and they have to negotiate who is going to take what positions. Unfortunately, you don't have as many positions as they are interested in people, and that's why I think the problem is coming from. The other thing I heard from the clerk is that one of the issues that was of concern is that the names were not procedurally forwarded to the National Assembly, right, because they were supposed to have been forwarded together with the minutes of the meeting that made that decision. So I think what is happening is that NASA just needs to go back and put its house in order and appoint the respective House leaders and submit the names following the procedures to the Speaker of the Clerk of the National Assembly. Betty.
All right, let me get the views of Opiyo Wandayi. He's here with me in studio. It's good that he comes from NASA. Is there any problem that we should be worried about?
There is certainly no problem. Certainly that I know of. What we are seeing is a little storm in a teacup. You know, NASA is a big movement. And in such a movement, you must expect people to differ in their opinions and their views. But the matter of leadership of the House is not really a critical matter for us at the moment. We are focused on ensuring that our party leader, our coalition leader, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, gets into State House by way of credible elections. Yes.
So that is the most important thing right now, not really the leadership of the House.
That's where our singular focus is.
Could that be the reason why we don't have the names that are being fronted for the different committees, especially the House Business Committee?
If you recall, Betty, a little more than a week ago, we did hold our parliamentary group meeting.
Yes.
And we resolved that we won't be participating in these committees, House committees, until further notice. Yeah, so that position has not changed as far as I'm concerned. And that reinforces the fact, really, that we are not focusing on these small-time issues. Our focus is on the bigger issue, is the presidency, which we strongly believe our party leader was deprived. Yes.
So that is the focus of the priority right now.
Yeah.
Not the issues you describe as small issues.
Small in the sense that if you look at the issue of the leadership in the House, there are about 4 positions.
Yes.
Yeah. How on earth would you satisfy every possible interest?
Maybe looking at the parties that affiliate that make NASA.
And that's fine, yes, because that would have to be considered. But more importantly, we would want to ultimately ensure that we have got a leadership in the House which is effective. Okay?
All right.
Which will respond to the needs of the times. And it doesn't matter really who it is that becomes the chief whip or whoever it is, becomes the minority leader. What is important is that this leadership that is agreed upon and is found to be effective, that is able to lead the coalition in the House for the next 5 years.
All right, but not for now until after the presidential. It's not important.
Not important, yeah.
All right, let me talk about something that is important to NASA, and that is this latest twist to that ruling by the Supreme Court. So there's this petitioner who's by the name Derrick Nguma, who's come out to say that there was a lot of contact between the 2 Supreme Court judges, Isaac Lenaola and Philomena Mwilu, the DC. With NASA's lead counsel. First of all, what do you make about this petition, generally speaking?
You know, Betty, there's really nothing to surprise someone. And there's no twist at all. what we are seeing is something which was expected. The moment the leadership of Jubilee under Uhuru Kenyatta came out, guns blazing, upon the pronouncement of the Supreme Court judgments, and they did not simply issue threats to the specific judges of the Supreme Court. They actually went further and made it clear that they will be fixing the Supreme Court. So what we are seeing was expected. And in fact, they are basically the same people who represent the reactionary forces having a go at the specific judges of the Supreme Court, who in their mind deliver judgment which is not in their interest. And you will notice, or you recall, that when the MP for Nyeri Town,
yes,
the Honorable Wambugu Munjiri, did petition the Judicial Service Commission for the removal of Chief Justice Maraga. In my view, it was a little bit too early. He let the cat out of the bag.
Okay.
Yes, and that's why he was being admonished, so to speak, by the president, by the acting president, of course, and others. What is happening is that Munjiri Wambugu was basically voicing the opinion, the concerns of the Jubilee establishment.
All right. We'll be coming back to
and these other petition, which I haven't read, really, and therefore I can't go into its merits.
I'll give you the details.
Is nothing but a follow-up. Having these people having realized that the Wambugu petition was going to cause a backlash.
All right.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear the sentiments of Njogu Barua joining us from our city center studio. Opiyo Wandayi says that, this is not, it does not come as a surprise that after, the CJ, was attacked just about 4 days ago and somebody, Ngujiri Wambugu, moved to court to seek his removal. It really does not come as a surprise now that there's this offensive against the two judges. What is your take? What is your feeling about this particular petition right now?
I think, Betty, I'm surprised by the responses in totality from my friend Opiyo Wandayi, and his answer it sums up to doublespeak. If you may allow me, I can go back to the House leadership for a second before I move the issue of petitions. As much as Opiyo Wandayi talks of NASA being a big movement, what he should be telling Kenyans is that NASA is a fragile movement. In the 11th Parliament, the minority leader was actually one Honorable Nyenze. And a time came whereby he was always sitting on his heels because they wanted to remove him. But he could not be removed because of the nature of the court coalition then. So why this issue, although I'm saying it's not a major issue to resolve, is a major issue in as far as the stability of the coalition is concerned. And that is why they are afraid of making internal decisions, because if they make internal decisions on those four appointments, as few as they look, they may cause divisions within the NASA coalition at this critical time of the elections. So this is important, and I was hoping, in fact, Opiyo Wandayi was one of the front runners to take one of those four positions. I don't know why he's not having it. Coming to the petitions, I will first and foremost
so you're saying you're reading much more than that?
President. I'm reading much more than that. In fact, we can discuss the whole topic on this issue. And actually, it's a balancing act. And Opiyo Wandayi knows that. I served within the same committee as my friend. And I know he was gunning out to be the majority leader. Now it's John Bandi, but there's no dispute because they come from the same party. So the indecisiveness within Jubilee, within CORD, within NASA, let me repeat, the indecisiveness within NASA is a fear of making a decision that can split the coalition.
All right, but he says that. But he says that at this time they're not really concentrating on these issues. They're focusing on the election that is coming up.
I think that's what he's saying is it could be true, but this is one of the issues that can affect the outcome and the team spirit of NASA.
Okay.
So these appointments, this decision could affect the team spirit of the coalition. He should come open and say that. On the petition issues, I would like, first of all, to ask Opiyo Wandayi to respect the president because we don't have an acting president. Opiyo Wandayi understands the Constitution, And the president is president from the day he's sworn in, the day he hands over to another president. So Uhuru is substantively the president. It's just a few things he cannot do, like appointing of cabinet and a few others, but he's substantively the president of this country. On Ngojiri petition, let nobody mislead Kenyans. That was not a Jubilee petition. It was a Ngojiri petition, and it should be taken as that. And let's not forget that Ngojiri is a former long-term member of ODM. And he still has contact with the ODM coalition, and I don't know what could have informed him to put that petition at that particular time. The other thing is that the current petition against Renaura and Justice Mwilu is similarly a petition from a Kenyan. Kenyan who wants to get a few things clarified about him, about the two judges, because we have a right of access to information. We cannot stop Kenyans from seeking to understand or to know more people, to know more about people of responsibility.
All right, but he's said to be well connected. He's said to be well. He is said to be well connected.
I don't know what you mean by well. I think somebody has to prove the connection, because I even don't know him, and I'm a senior member of Jubilee Coalition, Jubilee Party itself, so I don't know about the connection you're talking about.
Okay.
I think that guy is doing it as his own. Is not acting on instructions from Jubilee. But I think it is actually convenient for NASA through a pure die to say that. But he is acting on his own.
You know.
Let me just hear Opio and I's response to that.
Mheshimiwa Njogu Barua is a long-term friend of mine. And indeed, he was one of the most level-headed legislators from the Jubilee side we had in the 11th Parliament.
Right.
But it is not true that Honorable Njogu is a senior member of Jubilee. Because if he was senior, these guys wouldn't have done to him what they did to him during nominations. He's actually one of the sober guys and was operating on the periphery. But that's aside.
Aside from that.
The most important thing, Betty, is not to start claiming that Munjiru Wambugu was operating as an individual, and because, again, he was once an ODM member. Even Uhuru Kenyatta was once a member of ODM, by the way. William Ruto was once an ODM member. Yeah, so that argument cannot fly. The fact of the matter is that Munjiru Wambugu could not have gathered the courage to file such a petition without the nod of the high command of the Jubilee administration. That one I stand to be corrected. It's only that this timing was rather unfortunate, and the backlash was immediate, okay? And that's why the Jubilee High Command retreated, took a retreat, and they still say it, even in their press conferences. People like Murkomen and others, and Dwelly, they are still saying that the petition had merit, okay? The petition was raising weighty issues, and they were just bidding time.
But they still distance themselves from it.
Yeah, tactfully, of course. You know, as politicians, we know how to conduct ourselves. And Kenyans, and in fact, the constituency they were targeting, the Gusii constituency, was not amused. Yes, and this will come to pass when the final tally is done of these elections.
So that's the reason you're saying it was not the right time.
Yeah, yeah. If the final tally is done of these elections, if they happen, that is, the latest petition.
Yeah.
This gentleman, I can tell you for sure, the kind of issues I'm told he's raising, based on telephone conversation records, there are things you cannot get as an ordinary Kenyan. You either need to get a high court order or be in cahoots with the intelligence network for you to be able to know who is talking with who, when, and where. And without really going to the merits of the petition, I want to tell you that this is not any different from the Ngujiri petition. It's only that they are taking different tangents, okay? But in final analysis, the Jubilee administration is fully convinced that if, God forbid, if they take over power officially, the first casualties will be those 4 Supreme Court judges that made the ruling against them. That they have said without mincing words. Really.
Let me bring in Njogu to respond to what you're saying, Opio and I. But also, I'd like you to comment on the fact that, this petition is coming just 4 days before, after the one that was, out to remove the CJ from office. Do you read anything from it? Do you read that maybe this is a continuous attack on the Supreme Court judges because of that unfair judgment, according to Jubilee, that they made?
Can I?
Njogu.
I think I don't read it as such, and it's not an attack on the judiciary because, as I put it clearly, and I'm actually surprised by Opiyo Wandayi, my friend. He's talking more of a Jubilee person than a NASA person. He seems to know more about what's happening in Jubilee than what happens in NASA. I want to assure you that this petition has nothing, is not related to any pronunciation by either the president or the deputy president. It has no relationship, as far as I'm concerned, with the Wambogo petition. So to me, it is just a petition which has come at this particular time. Whether you could say the timing is wrong or not, that depends on the side of the story you are looking at it from. But I agree with Opiyo Wandayi in one thing, that maybe this petition could have waited for the final ruling by the Supreme Court. But we cannot stop Kenyans from seeking for justice at any particular time they want. I'm more surprised by Opiyo Wandayi saying that information this man has cannot be accessed by ordinary Kenyans. I think every Kenyan, either poor, big, or small, has and should have the right to get any information he or she wants. So I don't see why somebody like Opiyo Wandayi would say that this man should not be having this information.
Right.
Otherwise, who could he be having it? So
just to take you up on that,
to me, this is not harassment. It is just, yes.
Yeah, just to take you up on that. And
go ahead, Betty.
For you to have such information, to do with phone records and everything, the kind of evidence he's presenting to the JSC, you need a court order to do so. But we're not aware of any court order that he was granted to actually have this information in his hands.
Yeah, I think you need to have a court order, but as I'm saying, we are not privy to this petition. So we don't know how he got the information. That will be argued in court. So we cannot keep on suspecting or casting aspersions on where somebody is getting information from. Let the thing be argued in court, and the Kenyans will know where the petitioner got the information from. Finally, I would like to talk about what Wandayi is saying about being a senior member of Jubilee and what they did to me. I want to assure Wandayi that this interview is not about me, it's about Kenya. When times come to discuss about my issues, I'll be able to respond to that comment.
We'll discuss it here. All right, Opiyo Wandayi, this Derek Ngumu was able to apparently get all this information, and there's no, any court order that, we are privy to, as the people who actually broke this story out. What do you make of this?
Well, I can't agree with my friend Barua Njogu, that we may not know really how the guy came to access that information. Right. Perhaps he has got some court order which he was given quietly. We don't know as yet. My point was that in spite of all that, yes, this falls within a pattern. And it is meant, all these petitioners are basically children of Jubilee. These petitions, and it is not the last one, we'll be seeing very many others coming after this. At the instigation of Jubilee, of course. They are meant to serve, I think, two purposes. That's the reason why they're being brought up even before the detailed judgment is delivered. One is it's like to act as a firing shot, to keep the judges notice that we are watching you, okay? So that as even you prepare to give a judgment, your detailed judgment, know that we are watching you. In a way, it's meant to intimidate those judges so that they won't delve into those areas that Jubilee would be uncomfortable with. But secondly, it's meant to keep the public opinion, to influence public opinion. That, even though we have got a problem here, the supposed election of Uhuru Kenyatta has been annulled, we should not forget the fact that there is a bigger problem in the Supreme Court, and that necessitated this kind of judgment. So that Kenyans are made to understand that the elections were not annulled because there were malpractices or that they were irregular, but because there's a problem with the judiciary or with the Supreme Court. That's basically what these guys are trying to do. But Kenyans are wiser. Kenyans are not going to fall into the trap of being misled in the manner these guys are proposing. More importantly, I think it's high time now that the detailed judgment was delivered. I hope in the next few hours that judgment will be out, so that we put to rest this matter once and for all. And indeed, we assigned the capability where it is due. Okay? We have got individuals who we believe should be home by now. But even as we wait for this judgment, we hope their conscience will guide them. Yeah.
All right, we'll come back and continue the conversation shortly. And Opio, I'll be putting it to you. What if Derek Ngumu is able to actually ascertain that there was communication and contact between the Supreme Court judges and NASA's lead counsel or the principals? Then what next? We'll be having that discussion in the next few moments here on the show. But for now, we'll take a short commercial break. We're coming back to also just take a look at what's trending and the conversations that are going on online. So don't go away. We'll be right back.